within 60 days.
Sure. If the CEO feels that it can be accomplished in that timeframe, sure.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Sure.
before we get out of procedure, is that a second?
Yes.
Okay. Who's first?
Uh,
Supervisor Copac.
No, I'm actually third, and it happens to be in the South Coast, but that's all right.
Yeah, we stepped out of procedure there, didn't we?
I would suggest here that the language be changed in the recommended motion, staff to analyze, to work with solid waste Willits to analyze and develop a set of recommendations and cost-benefit structures. In other words, I think here this has to be a back and forth, almost a negotiated development, because we come forward with the county putting a lot of work into developing all the things that need to be looked at, and that we put that effort in, and then we have other matters being brought forward. So I see it more of as a dynamic process where we utilize the information that Mr. Ward has to make sure we're not talking about, we don't end up with an apples and oranges kind of discussion. Oh, well, I meant by that was this, and so forth. I don't want to see a best case adversarial kind of document coming forward from one side and then counterbalancing that. I would like to see this be a effort to say, look, how can we look at these numbers and come to some agreement? Going right to the heart here, Supervisor Pinches saying there are no subsidies in my district. Well, there is one. It's not a large one, but it's not factually correct to say there are no subsidies in the district. So those are the kind of things that can throw us off pace, and I wouldn't want to see Mr. Ward come in and say, well, the county's come in and done this wrong, this wrong, this wrong, this wrong, and we send you back to the drawing board. I would like to see more of a dynamic interchange and discussion between the two entities, and it might be difficult, but I think that's where we have to have cooperation up front and not have to have us wading through garbage at some later time, quite literally.
And no pun intended. Supervisor,
Pun wasn't intended.
Supervisor Delaware.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We're referring to a proposal that we haven't seen, right? And that is more comprehensive than just South Coast, is it not?
That is correct.
So the motion ought to recognize that it's not just South Coast. The recommended motion is specifically for the South Coast Transfer Station.
Right.
Supervisor Pinches, one last comment, please.
Well, yeah, I'm not gonna second the motion because Supervisor Delbarger, I was under the assumption that this is going to be a proposal on the general fund subsidy of the solid waste division through privatization. I mean, it's not just about the South Coast Transfer Station, it's about the other transfers, recycling centers that are out there. Isn't that what we're looking for, something from a total?
We've mixed a very large project with a very small project, and we've drifted into this, and that's what I'm saying here, right out of the gate here, this needs to be fleshed out.
Well, back to your original motion.
Yeah.
And when we first talked about this, for basically what you asked for solid waste Willis to come back with a proposal. Shouldn't that be in the line of that, not just about the South Coast Transfer Station?
No,
but about it.
We're not talking, we have not agendized going
Right.
to a large discussion of the larger issue. That's not what is before us. This is the South Coast proposal, which has all the elements inherent in it, which may or may not be relevant to the larger issue that you've been advocating for some time, and that we sent to the CEO's office and to Mr. Ward saying, develop something. This is not it. This is a small and perhaps not exactly relevant part of that effort to take on a particular project.
Well, I'm not going to support that because I was thinking we're gonna look at the big picture.
Okay, so you've withdrawn your second.
Right.
Is there a second to the motion?
I will second it.
There's a second to the motion.
Moving up.
Supervisor Kofax.
Could I comment, Mr. Chair, as the maker of the motion?
Sure.
Okay, I think council will concur, we can't take any action on a general privatization of solid waste functions in the county, because that's not the item before us today. The item before us today is 6D, that only refers to the South Coast Transfer Station. So I will, even though we have the Supervisor Pinch's second has been removed, I think he made a good point about weaving in the 60 days. I think Supervisor Colfax also makes a good point that we don't want to get Mr. Ward's proposal all nicely packaged, only to be delivered and find out that those are not the interests of the county. It's removing a few items or lacks substance on issues that the CEO's office says clearly need to be addressed before it comes back to the board for review. So I think that makes Supervisor Colfax's concept is a good one. However, I'd like to go to council, because council's gonna have to advise us on this, where we are with the respect to the RFP process, and would it be appropriate or would it be premature to talk about that reciprocity in negotiations and discussion within this motion?
No, the only thing before you is the issue of the proposal for the South Coast Transfer Station, and that's the only matter
Yeah,
that you can take action on.
understood, but my
You can
point-
certainly direct staff to bring back the bigger issue and put that on the agenda for discussion and direction.
No, that wasn't my point, Counsel. My point was only talking about South Coast. Can we weave in Supervisor Colfax's comments about more of the back and forth dynamic that he wanted to have present in the motion? Is that problematic with respect to the concept of RFPs and those issues? If you think it's not, then I would like to amend the motion and include both Supervisor Colfax's comments and Supervisor Pinch's comments.
Yeah, no, that would be okay.
You could do that?
Yeah.
Okay, we could do that. So, okay, let's amend the motion to provide direction to staff to enter into dialogue with Solid Waste of Willits with respect to a proposal to operate the South Coast Transfer Station and return with recommendations and detailed cost-benefit analysis to the Board of Supervisors within 60 days. That'll be the motion.
I concur. Thank you.
Okay, motion has been modified and the second concurs. Supervisor?
I will not support that, because I don't think that takes in the other transfer station areas and whatnot, and the whole package of it. And that's what, when this whole conversation started almost a year and a half ago, that was your intent, Supervisor Colfax, to come back with a proposal on the whole package.
You can respond, yes.
Yeah, that remains in place. It's simply not before us today.
Right.
I think
It does.
that is the distinction that has to be made. This is a piece of work that needs to be dealt with, and we're dealing with it, but it embodies some of these concerns that we have more generally, but they're not before us today.
That's
So
correct.
it's possible to support this as moving in that direction of having the kind of analysis that we can share and cooperate on developing. But we're not talking about it, but there's no reason to oppose this just because it doesn't deal with a big issue, because it's not on the agenda.
Well, that's my point. I'm trying to get it to be brought forward, the whole issue.
But it's not on the agenda
Get-
today.
Okay, timeout. Everybody count to 10. Okay. Mr. CEO.
I was going to suggest, Mr. Chair, in an attempt to move